In the past, I've made a few other spider bots, and I use air quotes on that because technically these are quadrupeds, as they have 4 legs instead of 8, like a spider. I did 4 instead of 8 on these, mainly because that's a lot of legs to make, and making the same leg over and over again gets kind of boring. Also, these ones just looked cool with 4 legs. So in today's video, I'm going to make a spider bot for real this time, no air quotes needed. I'm basing this bot off of the tarantula, and I'll start with the abdomen, also known as the spider butt. I'm going to make it from this Propel electrolyte tablet tube container that I'll cut down to a more manageable shape. I've used parts of these Propel tubes in quite a few of my builds now, not because I particularly like them or because I buy them a lot. I was just once given an entire box of these tubes for free in an event, and I've been slowly working through them ever since. I'm going to be using the top and the bottom of this tube, and I make a few marks with a pen, and then using my cutoff wheel and my Dremel, I cut off each end. Now, they're a bit rough. As you can see, there's quite a bit of melted plastic, so I use some sandpaper and smooth it over. Nice and cleaned up, and now I just have to attach them together again. To do that, I pull out my bags of plastic caps and try to find one that fits well inside the 2 pieces I just cut off. After a bit of rummaging, I was able to find this cap, which fits pretty well. Not only does this hold the 2 halves together, but it also makes this nice decorative indent. For the connection point to the rest of the body, I don't need to look very far because I'm just going to use the cap from that same Propel tube. I know it already fits inside the original tube, and I just have to remove this spiral plastic part and the outside ring. For those curious, the plastic spring acts as a shock absorber inside the tube to keep the Propel tablets from breaking. That maraca sound you just heard comes from the silica desiccant beads that are inside this cap behind this paper seal. Honestly, between the shock absorber and the built-in desiccant holder, this container is impressively designed. And even though the package designers over at Propel Gatorade PepsiCo seem to have thought of everything on these tubes, I bet they never imagined it would be used like this, to make a spider butt for a spider bot made from trash. Now what you're seeing me do here is fill that open space with a bit of resin because it was a bit too squishy and the resin will sturdify it. I want the back of the abdomen to be round, just like a real spider, and so I was going to use some of these resin casts from this clay mold, but the medium-sized is just a bit too small and the large one is just a bit too large. I need something in the middle, a Goldilocks piece, and since I can't find it, I'll just make it myself. I've never done this before, but the plan is to fill the large mold up partway with resin, and then add the top of the abdomen into the resin so that the edges touch the sides of the mold and cut the resin into the perfect size. In theory. Luckily, with the power of video editing, you don't have to wait long to see if it worked. Did it work out? Well, basically, yeah. There was a few areas around the edges where it didn't quite attach fully, or there were some air bubbles or something, but after a bit of cleanup with some sandpaper, it works pretty well for what I need. I add a small resin spacer inside and then glue the 2 parts together. Then I can glue both halves of the abdomen together, making sure the spacing is as even as I can make it. Moving on to the rest of the body, specifically the cephalothorax, which is a fancy word for main body and head combination. To start, I'm going to use this cap from a shaving cream bottle, and as you can see, it's a bit flexible, so I lock in place with a piece of plastic, some super glue, and then I fill the open space with a 2-part epoxy called E200. Once that is cured, I can start working on the upper half of the cephalothorax called the carapace, and for that I'll be using this piece here from a Gundam. To make it a bit stronger and to add some surface area to glue to, it also gets filled with E200. On a real spider, the carapace is part of something called the exoskeleton, which acts as the spider's bones since they don't have bones, at least not like our bones. It's made from an organic material called chitin that encases the body, so not only is it the spider's bones, but it's also its armor, and that's pretty badass. To attach the 2 halves of the spider together, I drill a few holes and attach a pin to one side. I'm going to keep the halves separate for now to make painting easier. As you can see, they don't really blend together well, so I'm going to add this Gundam accessory piece to cover up that open space. I just need to carve away a bit of plastic so it fits a bit better. To cover up the hole on top and to add some extra detail, I'm going to add this piece of a Gundam right on top here. Now I just have to shave away a bit of extra plastic with my Dremel tool to make things fit a bit better. I add a small pin to the bottom of the Gundam piece and then add a corresponding hole to the top of the carapace. Luckily it lined up right with the E200 epoxy. Next, I'm going to make the mouth parts, or the jaws of the spider, and to keep with the fancy science words, this part is called the chelicerae. The more you know. I'm making mine out of some toy parts, and these parts already look pretty good, they just need a few modifications. Let's move on to making the legs. Since I have to make 8 of these bad boys, I would like them to be somewhat simple and familiar. So I'm going to make these legs the same way I make fingers for my custom hands, just at a larger scale. I mark the styrene with 2 1-inch sections and 1 1/2-inch section, and then I cut them out. One of the 1-inch sections gets rounded on all 4 corners, the 1/2-inch section gets rounded on 2 corners, and the other end gets cut into a roughly 45-degree angle. This will be the part that attaches to the main body. The remaining 1-inch section gets rounded on 2 corners and then cut into a point. To attach the sections together, I use a super small drill bit and drill holes in the ends of each section. Then I use some matching sized wire to help reinforce that connection. Now this is done between the 2 main joints on each leg. The wire works well at these larger scales just to add a bit more reinforcement, sort of like rebar, but I found at smaller scale, like some of the smaller scale hands I've made, you really don't need the wire as much. I want it to look like there's actual articulating joints, so I'm going to take this piece of styrene and cut out a few holes with a hole punch. If you're wondering, I get all of my styrene from my local hobby shop, but you can always find it online if you can't find it in person. I love working with as much trash and recycled goods as I can, but sometimes it's really nice to work with a piece like this that's stock material, so I know it's the same material, same size, same shape every time I use it, and I know it takes paint and glue well. Especially for a project like this where I have to make 8 pieces that are exactly the same, sometimes it's hard to find 8 pieces of trash that are the exact same that I can use. I still like to add in as many pieces of trash and recycled goods as I can. For instance, this is a piece of a sprue, and I'm just cutting it off and adding it to the joints. The sprue is from the cage that surrounds the molded plastic from model kits. Most people just toss it once they've cut out all the pieces from their model, but I like to keep all of the long straight pieces as they've come in handy quite often in these builds. And with that, I have 1 completed spider-bot leg, and now I just have to make 7 more. Using a slightly larger drill bit, I drill a few holes in that 45-degree cut I made earlier, and add a few pieces of armature wire. This will help me attach the legs to the main body. Then I just have to drill corresponding holes on the side of the spider-bot, 4 on each side, for a grand total of 8. I may not be amazing at math, but I do know that 4 plus 4 is 8. I do a quick dry fit just to make sure everything fits together and looks good, and I can make some slight adjustments with that armature wire just to make sure that all the legs actually sit flat. And I thought it was pretty cool that this is the first time that a robot of mine has looked like it could be the final product without any paint. Usually they're all colorful and weird looking. I'm going to paint this one, of course, but just kind of a cool observation. Speaking of painting, everything is ready for paint, and it gets added to some paint sticks sent outside for a coat of primer. Oh yeah, and these are the eyeballs. They're just rhinestones of various sizes. For the actual colors of this bot, I'm going with gray, orange, black, and white. And I've used this color combination a few times in the past, and I really like it because it looks very industrial and futuristic. I've been asked before how I know what colors to use when I'm painting these bots, or how I choose the colors. Now, when I first start building these bots, I usually have no idea what colors I'm going to use, maybe a vague idea for some of them, but for most, no idea. I have all my model paints on a shelf organized to the left of my workbench, and when my bot has got through its primer coat and it's drying, I look at that shelf of paints and I start physically picking them up and holding the bottles together to see if the colors look good next to each other and if they work together. I'm also super lucky that I have a great hobby shop nearby that has a massive selection of paints that I can go and actually look at in person to see what I want. Another factor I try to keep in mind is how recently I've used the colors. If I haven't painted with yellow in a while, then I'll paint with yellow. It's pretty simple, but it works. I also have to keep in mind weathering. That alters the colors and usually darkens them, at least with my weathering. So sometimes I'll purposely choose a lighter shade of color to start with, knowing that it will darken with the weathering stage. I'm usually building and painting these bots in a matter of days, so I can't let choosing a color hold me up. I just have to go with it and hope for the best. It's definitely one of those trust the process things, but at least in the past, it's worked out. And it's never happened before, but worst case, I can always just add a new coat of primer and restart. So yeah, maybe not the clearest answer there, but there's a lot of different factors I take into mind. In the future, I'd really like to include the audience, you guys, in that choice of what colors I use, maybe through a poll here on YouTube or through a poll on my Patreon. So that's something I might play with more in the future. Speaking of my Patreon, I think it's a great time, now that we're in the painting process, to give a huge shout out to all my patrons. Thank you all so much for the support. Because of you, I get to choose all these wonderful colors to paint with. So thank you. If you would also like to have a shout out in every single video and get some access to behind the scenes photos that no one else gets to see, you can join my Patreon. All the links at the end of this video, in the description, and on my page. There's absolutely no pressure to join. But if you're liking what you're seeing and you want to directly support me, that's a great way to do so. Another way you can support this channel for absolutely free and right now is by liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, all of that good stuff that shows YouTube that these videos are cool and they should show it off to more people. I'd also like to open up this bot for interpretation. Right now, I just built a spider bot because I thought it would look cool, but I have no idea what its name is, what its purpose is, what it was even built for. So, as usual, I would like to open it up to you as the audience. Let me know what you think, if there's a fun name for this bot, what you think it does, what its job is, what it was meant to do, what it currently does. In past videos, you all have come up with some really amazing ideas, names, and stories for these bots, and I always love reading them. So please, if you have some fun ideas, let me know down in the comment section. I do read every single comment and I try to respond if I can. For the weathering process, I'm going to start with a mix of this field gray and leather contrast paint, and I'm going to mix up a small batch of a few drops of each and then dilute it with a bit of water and isopropyl alcohol. I use this mixture as a wash to cover everything and add a layer of grime to the entire bot. Now, this layer really focuses on the lower points in the panel lines where dirt and grime would naturally accumulate. This was the first weathering technique I ever learned, and I've used it on basically every single project I've ever made since I was 15 and I first started getting into art like this. The next weathering step is one that's a bit newer to me. I've only known about these weathering kits for about a year and a half now. The set D here was the first one I got, but I recently just picked up set A at my local hobby shop, and I'm going to test it out on today's bot. These kits are compact weathering powders, and I use a makeup sponge brush to pick up some of that powder and apply it to the bot. I start with the focus on the edges and then work my way into the center of each piece. The nice thing about these weathering kits is that since they're dry, there's no rush to apply them. You can take your time with them and you can apply as much or as little as you want. The last bit of weathering for me is just to add a few chipping effects. This is supposed to look like some of the paint is chipped away and expose the raw metal underneath. After that, I give everything a clear coat to lock in all of the weathering and chipping effects, and then I can start to put it all together. This is just a dry fit, just so you can see on camera, but eventually I will use some super glue and glue everything together once I know for sure everything fits. And with that, this project is pretty much done, so let's wrap this up, get to the beauty shots, and I'll check in afterwards. Hey, thank you so much for sticking around till the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly had a fun time. This is my first true spider bot with 8 whole legs. Spider bot for real this time. Thank you again for watching. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, put them down in the comment section and I will try to get back to you. If you have any fun ideas for this bot, the name, the purpose, the reason it was built, please also let me know down in the comment section. I love reading those. Next week, I'm going to take a break from bots and I'm going to work on something a bit more modern and with wheels. So make sure you're subscribed to check that out. Thanks again so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.